just find something that you're curious about and start learning. And this question, what can you do on your own to start healing? And while people can use manipulation and, toxicity to get themselves ahead, sort of, in the big picture, of course, we know that there's a loss of connections and there's really an overall loss of meaning and happiness when these toxic behaviors are the way that they interact with the world. Hi, friends. Welcome back. Today we have more questions. So I'm so excited that you guys are calling in and you're leaving your questions and your comments on the comment and question line. And so today we're going to get into more of those. And if you have your own questions or comments that you want to contribute to the show, please call the number below and I will be excited to hear from you. So our first question of the day.
Hi, Diana. My name is Lynn and I'm 42. And I'm asking your advice because despite the fact that I have a wonderful marriage and a great job, I feel just kind of stuck in life right now. I don't know if I'm bored or need a new adventure, a new challenge, but I was looking for your advice because even though everything around me is great, I feel a little stuck and feel like I need to be doing something different.
Lynn, I have so many suggestions for you. That is such a good question. And I feel like that's such a relatable place to be, right? Like life is good. You're married, you got a job, you're fine. Things are fine. But you're like, I need something. I'm kind of feeling stuck. I need a challenge. So my first thought, and I love this, is do a body challenge, right? Do some kind of fitness challenge, whether it be starting something new like Pilates or jujitsu or getting a trainer, joining a boot camp. Do some kind of physical challenge that's also going to put you in connection with new people. So you're going to be moving your body. You're going to get sore in new places. You're going to feel your body change as you create these new connections with different people. And it's crazy how doing that kind of like gets a spark going, right? And I really can attribute I did a 12-week fat loss challenge a few years ago. And it was kind of like during that process, as I'm, going through this transformation and feeling good and all of that, that I was like, you know what? I'm going to go back to school. And it just gave me that spark. And I'm still, riding that wave and about to finish my education and doing all these new things. So I would say start with a physical challenge. But I have more for you, because another great way to get unstuck is really just to feed your curiosity, right? Read some books. Find something that interests you, and it doesn't really matter what it is. If there's any subject, so for me these days, I've been reading all these books about near-death experiences and the afterlife and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's just interesting, right? And then it's kind of taken me down this other rabbit hole where I'm learning about lucid dreaming and, just find something that you're curious about and start learning. And I find like this is another like entry point to kind of like reigniting some kind of passion or some kind of like feeling of purpose or direction. Another thing is just to find a goal, but not to overthink the goal. I feel like sometimes we feel like we're stuck and we're waiting for like the thing to come along that's gonna like be amazing, right? Or like, what's my purpose or what's my thing? When really what we need is to get in the motion of going towards a goal. The goal itself doesn't really matter as much as the fact that you have a goal and now you're living with momentum. And that momentum is where you find the next thing, right? You're not stuck if you are going forward with momentum. So that goal could be, there's any number of things. I know for me, since I'm finishing up school and I'm so used to being in class and learning and like stretching myself, I am not ready to not have that. And so I'm looking into these different writing courses that I'm going to start taking because it's another goal, right? It's something like, can I complete a 12-week writing course and in the process get connected to new people, learn new things, try out a new skill set, right? So find some kind of goal and work towards it. Lynn, I hope this has helped. I hope that there's something in this that has kind of sparked you to be like, yeah, I'm going to go join a Pilates class, or I'm going to go do jujitsu. I'm going to join some kind of class or do some kind of goal to just get you unstuck, because life is good and it shouldn't feel boring.
Hello, I'm Rob, and I've been through a lot of stuff in my life and in my family. We just don't do the therapy thing. So what's something that I can do on my own to kind of start the healing process from traumas and stuff that I've had that I wouldn't have to necessarily go to therapy for?
Yeah, Rob, that's such a good question. And I love the fact that you're even asking this question. It's really normal to feel that way about therapy. And you mentioned like in your family, not wanting to share personal things. And that's something that I think a lot of us really have dealt with, right? This feeling of like, I'm struggling, I want some help, but the thought of sitting with somebody, possibly opening up, like it's just terrifying. And so, yeah, this question, what can you do on your own to start healing, right? Because you've been through a lot. That means, and you're thinking about therapy, you're coming up with the reasons why you can't go to therapy. And while I'm a huge supporter of therapy, I am becoming a therapist, I also know that it isn't for everyone. And also, there's so many different types of therapy. And there are many types that I am trained in where you don't have to share personal things and you can still get benefits. But for you, you're like, hey, I'm not there. I'm not going to go to therapy, but I want my suffering to go down. I want some healing, right? I want to feel better. And I love that. So there's a lot of things that you can do. The first thing really is to start focusing on finding regulation in your body, right? And so something you can do is look up the polyvagal theory, start to understand your nervous system. Because when we've been through a lot, what you're really referring to is trauma, right? So the experience of overwhelm for our system is trauma. And what can happen is our nervous system gets kind of stuck in fight or flight, right? Our system's kind of in the red. Or we can get stuck in shutdown, where it's like, this is just too much. I'm in shutdown. And it's suffering. And so finding ways to regulate your own system is really one of the first steps towards healing. And so how do we do that? How do we find regulation in our body? So one of the first ways is really taking care of your body, right? Taking care of your physical body by eating right, doing all of just the self-care, self-hygiene, doing exercise, having physical activity, just maintaining our physical body in a way that is nurturing and caring is kind of like a very first little step towards getting this regulation in our system. Building a capacity to feel calm and to feel at peace. And so, this is one of those skills of finding this peace in yourself, which through the lens of polyvagal, this is how do I find this ventral vagal state of calm and safety where I know that I don't have to fight, I don't have to flee, I don't have to shut down. I'm safe here. I can relax, I can connect, I can enjoy, right? How can we create the capacity to feel that calm? So there's a lot of ways to do that. Being out in nature, focusing on some kind of breath work, right? Breath is very powerful because it's like you're using your thoughts and you're connecting it to your body, and it's really tied into your nervous system. Doing some meditation, having some kind of ways in your daily life to create moments where you feel happy and relaxed and calm. And, for me, I love candles. Whenever I get home, I light a bunch of candles. And when I look at them, when I light them, when I smell them, it just gives me this signal of like, you're safe, you're home, you enjoy this. So building things like that into your environment, into your routine, and really seeking out that experience of I'm calm, I'm safe, and building that capacity, right? So that's finding that regulation in your body. The next step is finding connection to others. And again, when we're connected with others, we are in that ventral vagal state. And so whether that be, finding some kind of social club or joining some kind of team or doing something where you put yourself in a social, calm, relaxed social situation where you can build connections with other people is very important. And who knows, one of these friendships, maybe you can share a little bit about yourself, right? Because it does help for us to be able to relate to others as we work through things. Another really great way to gain a lot of the benefits of therapy without going, we call it bibliotherapy. And really that means reading books. And so, you know what kind of suffering you're experiencing, whether that be anxiety, whether that be depression, however your trauma is manifesting, I would look for books on that subject. And there are so many amazing books out there that can really give you a lot of the education that you would get through therapy, right? And so this is just another way for you to start getting some of those benefits of therapy without going to therapy, right? So looking up the books that, all kinds of different therapists and doctors have written with a lot of care with the intention of, delivering a lot of the benefits of therapy without having to go. And finally, just depending on where you go with your healing journey, I really would just suggest that you open yourself up to different types of therapy that do not require that you share personal things. One of them that comes to mind, somatic experiencing. So this is a whole modality around the physical body and really helping you to build that sense of safety and calm in your body. And it's not the kind of therapy where you lay on the couch and you talk about your dreams. It's therapy where someone is guiding you to sense into your own body and to really get that regulation in your system. Another one, EMDR therapy. That's another one where you can really work through some serious traumas. You don't have to explain to the therapist what happened. We ask for little headlines. And so you can describe things however you are comfortable as you're processing with EMDR. But yeah, if therapy's not for you, it's not for you. But I definitely, have experienced myself, and now on the therapist side, just the healing power of, just that magical therapy connection that can happen. And when you have someone next to you on your healing journey, guiding you, being that support for you, and also just understanding your body, your system, your nervous system, your brain, like all of those things, because it's what we go to school for, in a way that can really assist you towards that healing in a powerful way. So Rob, I hope that helps. There is so much that you can do, and I love that you want to heal and you want to feel better. And so all the best to you as you, really embark on this exciting healing journey.
Hi, I'm Jody. You've talked about toxic relationships, but what about toxic children? I have a teenager who is showing a lot of toxic traits. What can I do to help our relationship and their relationship with others?
Jody, that's such a good question. And my heart goes out to you. I have 2 teenagers at home as well. And yeah, teenagers can be tough, right? And some of that is just them being a teenager because, their hormones are going crazy. Their frontal lobe isn't fully developed and connected, and so they're operating with about half a brain, it has been said, which some days it really feels like they definitely only have half a brain, right? But yeah, as you're noticing like maybe some of these patterns, and I've done, different episodes on these toxic behaviors that really can become patterns that we see in other people. And of course, I'm always very careful not to label anyone as a toxic person, but to really call it what it is, which is patterns of behavior. And so most of the toxic behaviors that we see, kind of at the core of them, is manipulation and dishonesty. And so when we have teenagers, some of that, they're trying some of that out. And as you see this kind of maybe becoming more of a pattern, it definitely makes sense that you would be a little worried and thinking about, hey, you're going to be an adult in a few years. And if you keep this up, if this, kind of manipulative, toxic way of interacting with people becomes your, just your norm, it's going to have a negative impact on your relationships and on your life. And while people can use manipulation and, toxicity to get themselves ahead, sort of, in the big picture, of course, we know that there's a loss of connections and there's really an overall loss of meaning and happiness when these toxic behaviors are the way that they interact with the world. So it makes a lot of sense that you're feeling a little concern. So Jody, the first thing I would say is to focus on keeping yourself regulated. You can keep yourself from getting emotional and heated. It's really going to help in multiple ways, right? When someone is behaving in a toxic way, they're really trying to ruffle your feathers and to get you fired up so that they can kind of work their magic. And teenagers kind of do this sometimes anyway. So for you, really maintaining your own cool, and this might mean if you find yourself getting kind of dysregulated, getting kind of upset, taking a pause, letting your teen know like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go take a bath. We can talk about this later. And making sure that you're never part of the equation, right? When there's conflict and when there's emotions that are fired up. Keeping your emotions under control, keeping yourself regulated is your number one priority. And you're also leading by example, right? They say that the best lessons are caught, not taught. And, with kids and teens, they're always watching what we do and how we act and how we react. And so just displaying the attributes that you want your teen to have, leading by example is a really important aspect because, your teen is still growing. Their brain is still developing. They're still figuring out what kind of person they want to be. And you're their number one example. So really doing an audit on yourself and your own behavior and how you're treating others and how you talk about others, right? And just realizing it all kind of starts with you and not letting yourself off the hook and kind of pointing the finger at them, making sure that you are really setting that example. So the next thing really you can do, Jody, is make sure to have really clear communication with your teen. And if you see something that they've done or experienced something where you really feel like they were manipulating or they were treating someone poorly, laying it all out for them. Of course, in a way where you're cool, calm, and collected, and you're doing it as a teaching moment, right? You're not coming at them hot and emotional, but like, hey, let's sit down and talk about what happened, and let's look at how it plays out. Let's look at the consequence. And maybe the consequence is they lost a friend or they lost trust with someone. Maybe they lost trust with you, right? But sitting down in a teaching way where you're really looking out for their best interest, but you're clearly communicating it. Sometimes, we know communication is so important, but so often we don't do it well, right? And we notice that, the teen is doing things, but did you sit down and fully communicate? This is what I saw happen, and here's some consequences that are going to happen. And if you continue doing this, what do you think will happen in the future, right? But saying it in a way that's not like you're accusing them, you're not angry with them, you're just sitting down for a teaching moment, right? Really clearly communicating from your perspective, because you're an adult and you have a different perspective. You have a fully developed brain as well, which helps. But you have a different perspective that you can offer to your teen. And if it's done in a way where they don't feel like, you're upset or angry or blaming them, or, they can hopefully take it in. And in the least, you're doing what you can to communicate what you see to them. Something that's really important when anyone in our life is acting in a toxic way or manipulating us is to set very clear boundaries. And when you're dealing with your teen, you need boundaries, but then you also need some consequences, right? And so again, like the communication piece, being very clear about it, right? And so all of this does take a lot of work, but starting from a place of being regulated, having that calm and that control of your own emotions, doing it all with really love and compassion, because this is your child. And I know that your concern for them comes from love, and you want them to have a great future where they can have good relationships and connect with others. And so just reminding yourself that it's all coming from a place of love, but ultimately this, your teen is their own person, and they will go on to make their own life and their own decisions. And if they are choosing a path where they're going to make some bad decisions and they're going to treat people, in ways that backfire or, that come across toxically, these are their decisions to make and their mistakes to make and their path to take. So really controlling what you can, which is yourself, and making sure that you're regulated. So Jody, while I know this is such a tough one, I really know that you can do this, keeping yourself regulated, coming from a place of love, and ultimately allowing your teen to make their own decisions, having communicated everything you can to instruct them and help them along the way. So I wish you the best. I hope that this is just a phase, because, hey, when they're teens, oftentimes it is just a phase. And if we can be steady, we can be that rock, that great example for them, ultimately they will find their way back to that path that you've created, and they will have that beautiful future that you want for them. Thank you so much to everyone who called in today. If you have a question and you want to hear your voice on this show and have some feedback and interaction with me, please call the number below. Thank you all for watching. Like, subscribe, drop a comment, and I will be back next week with another message.